Yo. Welcome to the Barrel City Podcast. Y'all know who it is. Signing the motherfucking great. The guy, the king, the guy that makes a king, that become a king, like Hakeem with the dream. Lateral movement, like KG said, hit him with a lot of lateral movement. We up in here. Welcome to it, man. We up in here, man. So, we up in here, Barrel City Podcast, man. We're going to be going over today Scriptures. I'll be going over Matthew 15, 10 through 20. Also, we'll be establishing a quote. Also, how did y'all feel about, y'all know y'all seen y'all boy Keith Lee was out here in Duval Day. So, I got to touch up, do some, some motion, tell y'all, how I felt about him. Got to go through about Meagan Good, how that man Jonathan Majors, and just thinking about what's going on with him. And the biggest thing is, I'm going to be talking about music. Talk about my taste, what I like in music. What I've been listening to, what I've seen so far in July, just to give y'all a little touch up on what my eyes have seen and see if we compare some notes. And then most importantly, what I'm listening to individually, not just on the month, just basically on my mood. So, you know how I be. I've just got a little different motion going on. And then finally, we're going to be talking about some foolishness, Hawk Tew, or whatever, how that girl spitting on whatever thing that we didn't see, didn't know, and we still don't know anything about, coming about some Hawk Tew. So we just going to take her word for it. So that's the show today. We're going to be going into it. We about to be sliding right into a prayer, or particularly my scriptures, in which will then lead to y'all connecting your own prayer. All righty. Welcome in to the Barrel City Podcast. Yeah. So we're going to be covering Matthews 15, 10 through 20. I'll repeat, Matthews 15, 10 through 20, in which the following says, in my title, it breaks down the way in people in which disrespect another and can cause certain, disparities in conversation and even just in certain ways in their moods. So let me give you the detail in that in the scripture, leading with Matthews 15:10, And he called the people to him and said to them, hear and understand, it is not what goes into the mouth that defiles a person, but what comes out of the mouth that defiles a person. Then the disciples came and said to him, do you know that the Pharisees were offended when they heard this saying? He answered, every plant that my heavenly Father has not planted will be rooted up. Let them alone. They are blind guides. And if the blind lead the blind, both will fall into a pit. But Peter said to him, explain parable to us. And he said, are you also still without understanding? Do you not see that whatever goes into the mouth passes into the stomach and is expelled? But what comes out of the mouth proceeds from the heart. And this defiles a person. For out of the heart come evil thoughts, murder, adultery, sexual immorality, theft, false witness, slander, and these are what defiles a person. But to eat with unwashed hands does not defile anyone. So when he said that, this is Peter talking to Jesus. And even in this situation, he talks about the defiling of a person, like I started it off, like just how your heart can be represented through your mouth. And like I'm going through this fact of understanding a bit by bit, like we said, going from 10, he says, and he called the people to him and said to them, hear and understand, it is not what goes into the mouth that defiles a person, but what comes out of the mouth that defiles a person. So right there, you're already looking at it from a fact that Jesus is letting you know right off the fact, like, it's all coming from out your mouth. It's coming from your mouth is representing that heart of yours, that spirit of yours that isn't being a representation of him and isn't even working his ways. So then you look at this and see the disciples breaking it down, saying, skipping down, they're like in 12, it's like, do you know the Pharisees were offended? So he's like, they like, hey, like Jesus, like, you talking about mouth and how that's defiling and you coming at people crazy. But when you sat there and said, when people run their mouth crazy and they feel some kind of way and they felt some kind of way, like, okay, like what does that mean for real? So then, Jesus goes to clear it up. He like, hey, every plant that my heavenly Father has not planted will be rooted up. Let them alone. They are blind guides. And if the blind lead the blind, both will fall into a pit. So he's like, these people don't know nothing they talking about. Like Jesus is like, they talking crazy. They talking about how you need to be perfect. You need to do this. You need to follow the laws. And going back to the identity of Pharisees, if you're reading the Bible and this is something you're just getting into, the Pharisees have already shown you that there are people that know the scripture up to a whole different standard. But going into how they handle themselves and how they are rooted and how they are, maintained in knowing the word, their hearts, the thing that which even they said, Jesus said, every plant that my heavenly Father has not planted will be rooted up. Let them alone. They are blind guides. So he's already letting you know they don't know what they're talking about. Their hearts are not in the right place. And they're going to lead you to a messed up situation. Excuse me. But Peter said to him, explain the parable. So Peter ain't the only one. Everybody else around them, they like, bro, we don't get that. Even though Jesus just explained to them, they don't know what they talking about. Like the blind are leading the blind. Like they are just knowing the scripture, but they're not standing on the principles. Their heart is not in the right place. So even Jesus is kind of like, all right, I gave you pretty much blatantly to you. Now let me explain it to you again, because he's like, are you still without understanding? Like, how are you still not without understanding? Like, I'm already telling you, they don't know nothing. So he goes back and says, do you not see that whatever goes into the mouth passes into the stomach and is expelled? So he's talking about that digestive system. You know how you eat food, how you have air, you consume it, goes into your body, how it goes in your lungs, your stomach, different things, how that all just that process, and then it comes out. But what comes out of the mouth proceeds from the heart. So he's like, let's think about it in reverse. Even though you're used to understanding the enter through mouth and then through the ending of your body, your bottom, he said, let's think about what comes from out your stomach itself, your heart, that area, and then what comes out of your mouth. And he's like, all right, but what comes out of your mouth proceeds from your heart. What comes out of your mouth proceeds from your heart. And this defiles the person. So he's like, alrighty, whatever comes out of your heart that comes out of your mouth, it's already setting you apart. You already you're not even on the same pinnacle, same steps as I am, because you're not living to my standard, because you're not looking to live to the standard of what, this word, but your heart is not in the right place. So he goes in depth and says, for out of the heart comes evil thoughts, murder, adultery, sexual immorality, theft, false witness, and slander. So he's already telling you your heart, these are all the things your heart, if it's not in the right place, can be filled to then defile itself, coming from your heart that's already having negativity, badness, and just hardship on people. And then it comes out of your mouth. And then these are the defiles of a person that can eat. These are what defile a person. And then going into in-depthness of that scripture, he says, but to eat with unwashed hands does not defile anyone. So he's like, at the end of the day, those people back then was like, oh, your hands not washed, your feet not washed, you're not living, the cleanliness was the certain order in which everything was kind of aligned with. But he's like, nah, it don't matter how dirty your hands and feet is. If your heart is the unclean thing, you're never going to be clear from anything. You're never going to be that person that's going to get that freedom. You're never going to be that person that can get away from the hardship, because regardless, you're going to put yourself in the hard situation, because you're never going to be addressing the things in which you never, looked at or and consistently took time to really like adjust. Because regardless, your heart is never going to be the thing that's, the heart is the thing that's going to set you apart from all those things. And a lot of people talk about the heart as an organ. That is correct. The heart is an organ. But he's talking about that heart of the spirit, not just the flesh itself, but really what dwells in your flesh, what dwells into your spirit, what dwells into who you are, your evil thoughts, what dwells into what's your intention, what are you really putting out? So it's like you'll meet somebody that's just putting out negativity in the fact that they're not seeing the things of the light of what God is doing. So then they get so far off, and even if they doing the things the right way and they handling things the right way, their heart never is in the right place, because in regards, they're not doing it for the right things. They could be doing all the things of the law, not lying, cheating, stealing, not doing, sexual immorality or adultery or murder, but there's in a way in which they may be prescribing to one of these things, or they just prescribe to the thing in which slander. They consistently always got something negative to say. They always got some form of drama. They always got some kind of backlash that they got to keep talking about. They always got to talk about this person and that person, always in gossip, but you're never really addressing the things within yourself, and you're never addressing the facts of what we are all going through situations. It's a particular situation with a lot of different people, going on in the world, especially sometimes, looking at pastors and leaders. We're so easily quick to slander, celebrities too. I'm going to go off a fact of celebrities today. It's a fact of me looking at it from a position of, its own, backlash and how self-respect is addressed. But you have to be gentle in understanding how much can you really chime into the situation and how much you really need to just face into yourself. Don't get so consumed with the things outside of yourself, and just address the things that you can handle. But ultimately, even in this scripture, it just shares with you that remember that your mouth and your heart have to be aligned in the sense of doing the works in which you prescribe to. That's love, that's care, that's gentleness, that's giving, that's the tithing. Tithing is not just something that is going through simple touch-ups on what you're giving to your church. Tithing can go in so many different ways, and I'm going to talk about that in a later episode. So with that all being said, we have to be aware of what we put out and what we prescribe to. And most importantly, I wanted to talk on the fact of what it is to be led by blind faith. And I have a quote to that. Be careful when blindly following the masses. Sometimes the M is silent. I repeat, be careful when blindly following the masses. Sometimes the M is silent. And I want you to keep that in mind, because you can continue to follow different people, religious leaders or influencers, and they all live their own lives, regardless of what you feel, what you think, what they have given you. You can never sit here and continuously never individualize yourself in the situation and build your own relationship with the Messiah and go outside of building your own relationship with the world. You have to establish your own way. You cannot continuously keep following people that are not in no shape, form, or fashion able to lead you to where you want to go. They're never going to be able to do that. So I just have to continuously say to myself, even, don't allow somebody's image of you or what they think about you or what they see about you ever dictate what they can really know about you. Because there's so much that we can always have a window view of, even celebrities or just our own peers, and we're never going to see the real reality of what that person really going through, what they're really seeing, and what even inspired them to even continue in the way in which they're moving. So be aware of what your steps are. Be kind in the way in which you love one another, and just take your time to address the situations in which you have been so much loved and seen, and just working and just being so much of a caring person, that you forget that your blessings are so dear to you that nothing can change where your direction is going. So I wanted to give y'all that word. We about to jump into something different. We're going to hop into some different moves and get in a different space. And we say this again, man, just keep it positive and keep it motion. We about to be talking about Duval Day, Keith Lee. See y'all. Let's talk about it. Let's get to it. Blessings. Yeah, man. So Keith Lee came through Jacksonville, man. Y'all know that's the home move for the Barrel City podcast, man. We out of here at Duval County. You know how it be, man. The crafts were not so much around there, Wish I got to see more. I didn't get to go out there, I really looked through, a bird's eye view, trying to, you know, keep up with current events, and, work had been working. So got to be a little more, consistent on that fact. But looking at Keith Lee coming through Jacksonville was like a real blessing. It was like, in a lot of ways, it put a shine on my city, in the lights of what really was going on. Like, a lot of people didn't get to see the scope of how big, like, the city is. You got to be down here about 2 hours or so. But it really was just a light on how much fun he had. Like he said, it was ghetto. It was ghetto out there, man. Like, them people was out there. He seen some things. He got to experience something that was, community. You got to see something that was enlightening, in the sense of just not even just how my people were moving, but just the love that we were giving out there. I hope to experience a Duval Day maybe next year, full coverage, Barrel City podcast kind of move, like asking people how that really feel for them, and just addressing like how big, Duval Day has grown over the last I think 5 years. Like, from my experience, like, Duval Day is now, I think, it's officially been something that, regardless of what, we can ever, look at and think about, like, the city has grown so much, and we've seen so much and established so much, and got to, be around so much of this camaraderie of this city. It was good to have an outside view of somebody, of Keith Lee's influence. He's somebody that's positive, a man of God, somebody that's just consistently just loves to share the love of what God wants us to give. And he's very much a proponent of being pro-Black in a way in which a lot of people don't really understand. Like, just being around this city and seeing the things in which we're going in a positive direction. But let's remember the core things about Duval. We're starting to evolve here. The city has changed in the last 5 years as well, in a different direction. Some of those ways, he can still keep it very much, prominent to the city, and keeping it prominent in keeping it authentic. We love that. We love that. And I hope to meet, Duval and his in an endeavor of my own, and just, give him that light, because to even draw to Keith Lee and then overall Duval Day, it's just so much of just an empowering, like, situation to be a part of. Like, it's just to be proud to be from this city in days like that, especially in this hardship that we are experiencing as a community overall, through the current events that we've encountered, through, the music and the way the city's been moving. And it's just so good that even in the situations of what can be so more capitalist, the capitalist mentality of the different things that's been going on for the other parts of the citizens, but that authentic Duval, ratchet way we move has now been transcended in a lot of ways. And now that we've been given this opportunity, it gives us so much love and life. And it's just so much that can be, kept secret, and so many things that can be just shared through just the imagery of just what we see and what we got going around. So with that being said, just having Keith Lee, and, hope he, anybody that got to run into him had a great experience with him, and got to feel the genuineness of that brother, which we see through TikTok, and even by the way he handles himself, even with that controversy he had with, BET, and he still just kept it Black positive, and still just stuck out and was so positive for us, and just got so much of that love. So, with that being said, I guarantee that, we now have a new light of just seeing that. And hopefully next year, whoever comes through next year, I can definitely get to see and get an experience, and hopefully interview him. You never know. Mike Key Lee might slide back through. I'd love to get an interview with that brother. So I say this is just a blessing, especially if you're from this city, and we got to experience somewhat of a person who, is genuine and got to see the genuineness of a city like Jacksonville. So, all right, we about to chime back out from there. I want to go and tap in with something else. Of course, I'm gonna jump around real quick into something a lot more deeper. We're gonna be going into our local advertisement. We're gonna talk to y'all soon. We're gonna fly right back. We're gonna be talking about Meagan Good and Johnathon Majors. Yeah. Let's get it. Let's get it. Let's get it. Let's get it. You know what it is. You know what it is, man. You're looking for exposure. You want a shout out. That's going from your music, anything, your page, mostly businesses, things that you got going on. Look no further here, man. Barrel City Podcast. We got deals, big things about anything coming to advertisement. We advertise your show on the pod. Advertise anything you got going on. Hit me up. Our page today on Barrel City Podcast on IG and TikTok. Transform your business. Embrace the season of change. Y'all want something different? Come here. We're going to make it happen. If you're looking for particular people, you want to put people on, you want to have somebody in front of the camera, you want to have opportunity, hit us up. You know what it is. Barrel City Podcast. You know what it is. Let's go. So yeah, I gotta tap in on this. I had to talk about something a little more impersonal in the sense of everybody came through it looking at the perspective of Johnathon Majors and Meagan Good and Michael Ealy. Them light skins. I'm not even gonna cap. It's the pretty eye community, man. I gotta say, us brothers can find a way to shake it up, man. Johnathon Majors around there looking like a 1930s old. He supposed to be on life. I ain't even gonna lie. He supposed to play in life. He just has a old school time machine looking Negro, man. I ain't gonna cap. It's a lot going on with that look that he had, but I ain't gonna keep riding on the brother's appearance. But all that he's been through, I still send prayers to the brother, regardless. The man got his own flaws on situations in which, we just gonna pray for the brother on the sense of what he been through. I think he been enough, but for the fact that what Mikey Ealy did as a man was predominantly the most disrespectful thing you can ever do. Just period. Y'all did not even address the man, was even more disrespectful. I feel like he's taking this to a whole nother level. He's taking this to a light where we may have to see that he doesn't. He letting us know something that we don't know. But even in that, it was a level where that was beyond reasonable conversation. I'm be honest with you. I feel like Johnathon Majors should have had him a homie with him. Johnathon Majors don't need to be moving solo. He need a crash out dummy. I'm just gonna keep it 100 with you. Cause as soon as Michael Ealy pulled all that, it should have been the brother already grabbing Michael Ealy by his shoulder. It should have been some furniture moving. Cause Michael Ealy like the type to think he can throw his shoulder back like he unhanded me. Y'all gonna have to stomp him out. Cause Michael Ealy, he put one of them supreme light skin nanny in the boo boo, address the other dude around you, and then it lets you sit there and just look all crazy. He tried you in your face, man. I don't know what previous history they have, because that's the kind of move you pull on somebody that y'all had a conversation and he started moving like he hit lottery, and you got to remind him that was mine first. That was a real reminder of you ain't like that, pimp. Let me bring you back to reality. I had it first. You Ray J. I'm Ray J. You Kanye. You remember where you came from, pimp. So overall, just looking at that order of what that happened with that community attack. I'm gonna call it a community attack, because that just showed the level of disrespect that you can climb to with a woman who does not respect you either. And I'm not to sit there and like I know these people personally. I cannot, condone anything that they got going on. I just know as a man that in which if he carries himself as a man that he wants a woman that is a higher value woman, like he'll bring up Michelle or Condoleezza Rice, women who historically are black women who are, uh, Verona Davis, these women that we look at in a light, that is considered so much influence, educated, strong values, good communicators, people that you genuinely can like learn from, women that are strong leaders but still are like able to allow their husbands to be these men of God and carriers of just their family and being strong just roots to already a strong foundation that's been established between that person, that longevity marriage. And I think Jonathan Majors is in a situation where he came from a situation where somebody was with him before, he was considered the sexiest man or the man that everybody wanted to be with based on, I feel like, not particularly his looks, but money. And that he went from being the stage kid to this more strongly physique, seen woman. And I don't mean to address it in the sense that it's just based off that look of his change of his body and his financial statements made him more attractive to women of color and pretty much any woman. But I think early on the woman that he may have had received, in which, she was a little more wild Thornberry, she was a little throat fuck off in the head, excuse my language. He was in a situation where he felt like that was his comfort. That was a situation where somebody chose him, and that even goes into his counterpart. Let me dabble into the fact that Michael B. Jordan was in the same spot. Michael B. Jordan, wasn't getting no Lori Harvey, the kid that played at The Wire. He was a skinny black kid, like the girl tried him in the interview that he got his get back years later. Remind you ladies, us Aquarius do not have short-term memory. Anytime female or male, we don't have no short-term memory. We remember from day one, it's up from there. And same thing came in that situation where Shorty Jotham said he was, what's the word? He was corny. He wasn't really that kind of kid. He wasn't that kind of guy. And, that chose his direction of his relationships. So I'm just looking at the fact that just Jonathan Majors, overall, getting Meagan Good, being a woman who, just got out of a marriage with a big time, I'm going to call him a celebrity pastor or a pastor with, ties in Hollywood, getting from there, from being a first lady in that situation to now, getting Jonathan Majors, it was supposed to be, I don't want to say a downgrade or not as high as an expectation, being under the church lights. But I think overall for her, just being able to allow somebody to already disrespect a man who was already on the ground when you got him has shown the lack of, for me, empathy, willingness to be a true companion, a lack of fairness, and truly just to almost like to beat somebody before they can even get themselves off the ground is completely ruthless. Like I've never thought of somebody could ever, beat you to a place where you're already been defeated. Like as a man in the situation, even when he acquired Meagan Good, and I'm not trying to say Meagan Good wasn't worth the relationship. I don't know her personally and don't know him personally, but at the end of the day, do I feel like in the fact she got from that divorce, no kids, being a first lady, and from all the things she did, from, the Holly weird things to, even coming out of a divorce based on the fact that really we all don't know really what it is and we got assumptions based on that. But then coming into this relationship, and this is the first thing we see in years, or a year or so after, divorcing, the celebrity man himself, and then going into this situation, and the first thing Michael Ealy gets that access to lift you up, twirl you around, look you in your eyes, hug you again, and then never address your man, and did all that. That just showed a lack of her really caring for him. And I feel like, in the sense, when a man is already low, and then to allow another man to humiliate him, then to let a man humiliate him in front of cameras and in front of other peers, and do that, and then to just go around and you think things are okay, um you know that was not okay. That was never going to be okay. I think any woman or man would never want somebody play in your face, have somebody laughing at you more on things than which you experience back. Oh, these people laughing at you, don't know what's going on, ha ha ha. Like, it's that same level. It's worse than that somebody's playing in your face, in the sense that they playing behind your back. Playing in you behind your back, your backyard, it ain't your front door. But with your front door, your front yard, people ride past your front yard. People see your front yard usually. A lot of neighborhoods, backyard got a fence. Front yard, you may, everybody, that's open. You're not in a gated community, but some bit of it's open. And just to have somebody in your front door playing with you openly like that is just a sign beyond being just disingenuous and just cruel. So for Jonathan Majors, I definitely say that situation is something that, for you men, women, don't allow yourself to ever get played with like that. Don't let nobody sit here and just throw you in no situation where they have the strength, the willingness to just sit here and look at you and say that you're a partner, and to then just backstab you. And the fact that other people can address that you've been humiliated, it's beyond anything we got going on. I think that's just something that, moral of the story, we have to always look at something with a reality of, if somebody doesn't have your best interests in public, they definitely don't have an interest for you in private. And that's where we need to continue as a people, continue as men and women, to address that these relationships that we're developing, we got to do better. We have to do better. We have to look at things from a sense of caring for one another, because at the end of the day, the karma gonna come back to her. Whatever, to even get to that point, it don't even matter. You just leave somebody at that point. And I think that just set the tempo for what my opinion of Meagan Good has not changed. She's in a Hollywood situation. I feel like anything that goes in there is already demonic. It's giving high level, not gatekeeper P. Diddy, but it is some things that could come out to the light, and it wouldn't surprise me. So with that being said, that's Jonathan Majors for me. Just that whole outlook on that, I feel like it's just, there's nothing really you can really talk about on that. But we're gonna carry on. I'm gonna talk about my top 5 all-time list of music artists, and we're gonna sit here and go and divvy out about it. You know what I'm saying? So let's go and talk into it. We're gonna get into moving. Yeah. Yeah. So we out here talking about this top all-time list of music artists for myself. I gotta give you my top 5. The 5 after that I could probably come up with pretty easy, but top 5, we're going and looking at, for me, Mike Jack, Stevie Wonder, Prince, Bobby Womack, and I have to throw in Tupac Shakur. That's the top 5. That's my mount right there. That top 5. After that, I have to have J. Cole, Kendrick Lamar. On the top of that, I'm also thinking about Chris Brown. And the other two would be it's a tight little run right here. It's a tight run. Usher. I'm gonna throw Usher in there just off the vibes right now. And then for number 10, I have to go Sade. And that these new five, it changes. They ain't the Rushmore. That Rushmore pretty solid until that pop might move a couple times. I might be, because when it comes to music, it can shift for me. I gave a lot of, pop, R&B, different influences on that, but I have a lot more influences that sneak into that. But right now, that's just the vibes for me in this very moment for that bottom. I'll say the bottom five leading into that, that could be 6 people that could be interchangeable. But yeah, for me, that top 5 is just very like influential. Looking at Stevie Wonder's career has just been something that for me has always been in power and skill, and just looking at his overall embodiment of just the art form in which what he got going on. He's just so much of a great carrier of the history of music. The pianist, that level of just being able to hit those keys and being able to tune and just do so much. And then you even think about Mike doing the same thing. Mike being so like timeless. Mike and Prince, we're gonna make them a duo. Ain't nobody, ain't no way you're gonna slide off Prince or Mike Jack and think you gonna ever like switch off what you got going on. Like, they're the pinnacle of when those three, you definitely looking at the pinnacle of just trying to be there and just match the level of skill and just the talent. You ain't touching none of these niggas. Like, I ain't gonna lie. Them is tough. Like tough. And coming down, I definitely enjoy, Bobby Womack. For me, the poet is on my top 5. Now this may be something for other people. Like, okay, Bobby Womack, never heard of him. He got some classics that carry on timeless in a sense. I wish he didn't trust me so much is one of them. Taxi. If you think you're lonely now, like these things is like, he don't also forget he got some credits involving in the fact of him being in the same window of being in the managerial and owning the rights to the Beatles first off. So you looking at these guys and understanding like he was already made to be a star. He had the business, he had the talent, he had the music, and it's just, for me, he's always been somebody that's timeless for me. Overall, I think it's nothing that you can never think of with like how great of an artist and just how much he really brings to the music that we all love. You know what I'm saying? Like the music that we all love. And if you haven't heard this stuff, definitely listen to it. Pac, you know what I'm talking about. We talking about Tupac Shakur. Brenda Had a Baby. California Love. What You Do for Love. To my unborn child, you listen to my unborn child. If you can't hear that beat, that beat been sampled more times. I can tell you, I heard Frenchman rap on it. That beat, I guarantee when I get people in the booth, that's when I'm gonna let people. You gonna have to kill that. If you from Florida, you gotta kill that beat. I don't care what nobody say. That's just for the good times, the bad times. We gotta make it get like it's getting. You know what I'm saying? Pop just got hits on hits on hits on hits. Like, Ambition of a Rioter, count. To live and die in LA, ain't nothing like it. He was more than just the fact of just somebody that was, an artist of just straight passion, but he was an artist that was so needed in the time he was there. Even in this time, if he was around, most of this, I think it'd be way worse than what people think it would be. Tupac was a revolutionary. I don't think the luxuries of what we have today would have been around if Pac was still doing what he was doing. Pac influence. He was like in Martin Luther King. He was like Malcolm X. He was, you think about Nipsey, you think about Pac. Nipsey was somebody that had that it factor. Those people that could change the scope of what you thought about and how you looked at your process. So then, just now leading into the other parts of my five, Andre 3000, his pen, J. Cole, his pen, Kendrick, it ain't like, you ain't like us. That's basically what I'm tell you that right. You're not like us. So it's just so many different things that you get from these different curators of this art form. And now, addressing just that and then looking at what we as consumers, looking at these different artists that I've added, they're my top five because it's just like the way they make me feel and the way I look at things and just how their pen comes about. I just draw so much comparison. Usher, you ain't got nothing else to say about that. Or Chris Brown. Those guys are the ones I have in there because of just like their influence on overall the art form of music and just the timelessness of what they can put out. It don't matter what or where you can put that R&B on and you're gonna change the room. They're everything that everybody wants to be, curators off a mic, that shadow. I would have added so many people off of this list, adding Snow Allegro or, hinting at even Lizzo and, addressing the different artists that, Sir, and then, I gotta get an R&B and then, I go on to country music. It's just so many different people I can literally draw into, but that's my top five leading into my top 10. So that's how I feel about that music and how that just really cultivates like how I feel. So also for me, top albums so far in July that I've been, bopping with and I've really been just kind of like taking my time with and just addressing. I've been listening to the Death of Slim Shady. The Death of Slim Shady came out to be a album that I was kind of, I'm not gonna say surprised. I was surprised. Eminem kind of, he stepped out for me. He came out of a shadow that I was not expecting him to come out of. This man popped out and he been rolling since. I think that album, just overall, just looking at the different songs that he had on this album, the pretty much my favorites, in which I like the one where he had Jid. Fuel was hard. I just like that back and forth they had going on, just the level of just the toughness. The bars were just immaculate. You know, Trouble was just crazy with the level of he just like his penmanship on this album was just second to none. The different things in which he just talked about, even in that, I can't remember the particular song, when he talked about his kids and if he was dying and the different things in which he experienced, like, and how he would love passing out his wealth and things of that sort. Like, it was, a very, like, beloved album. It was an album that I was not expecting to be as good as I was thinking it would be. Like, it really surprised me. Like, I truly was surprised by the level of work that he put on this album and how much he really like dedicated to the art form and really just reminded me of old Slim Shady. And I have about two other albums I got to give a nod to. Remy Wolf, Big Ideas has been a really great album for me. Really kind of indie rock, indie pop kind of vibe, give you a little alternative. I really love Cinderella. That's one that I have, fallen. I've also liked When I Thought of You was another great song for me. Just her level of delivery and just her vocals are so different. You may have seen her on American Idol. I didn't run into her on American Idol. I actually ran into her on a situation where she was doing a cover of Amy Winehouse Valerie on YouTube, and her way she delivered it and the way she sang and the way she just carried herself through that performance kind of made me a fan. So I was like, let me see what else she got going on. Like she kind of got me a little bit. Like I was like, I didn't think somebody was able to, carry and get their own style. And that was, something that made me kind of like interested in being like, let me kind of look at her catalog a little bit. Let me see what she got over there that I'm kind of sticking to. And then of course I had to, because I was like, I'm a big country fan now. Over the years, I kind of became a country fan in the last year. It's became one of those things in which, like, before I used to be like, nah, I'm not a real, like, newer country fan. Like, I liked a lot of, like, Brad Paisley, and a lot of, uh, uh, Billy Ray Cyrus, like, things of that sort. So, even just me getting into this new level of just addressing country, and I got to throw in too, because of course Zach Bryan, the Great American Bar Scene, was something that I was not so you know actually surprised to see that it came out, and was more surprised that it was just like a surprise drop for me. I'm gonna say two, but it's really one album. It was really just his storytelling is just beyond anything I've ever heard. You know, American Nights, one of the ones I like. And also I like Sandpaper with Bryce, I think his name is Bryce somebody. So it was just good that kind of like get that country music itch fixed, because Shabuzi, I might be banging his name up, my apologies, he came out with an album in May coming into June, which was, I think, really was the best album coming out of June. Even though it was in May, it counted for June for me, because I was like, that carried June, because June was a shitty month for music. It's Black Music Month. Most people don't know that, but that was just something that, I was surprised by, that it was just so lackluster. And his album kind of made it a lot more, fulfilling for me. And I feel like that was just something that, you know, compared to another, country album coming out, you know, having Zach Bryan come out with an album, and I'm just a big fan. I think I'm more of a fan of him than Morgan Wallen. Morgan got some hits. I feel like he kind of, and I don't know what I connect to Zach Bryan. Just storytelling. He's his pen game, his delivery, the way he sounds, it's different. If I talk about like them top people for me in country, I'm a big fan. So those are the albums that I'm vibing with right now. And really, what am I listening to right now? So I'm probably put out about some quick promo. I'm gonna do some quick promo, some songs that, in project that just got me. I explore a lot, and I'm gonna give it to Una Mia. I may be wrong. Better Care was a song that I loved, and I also like Nothing on this album. She dropped an album as well. Should be a part of my June class, but I do like how she just kind of now is, you know, developed this style, and just this sweet EP just fit in the middle for me. For those two songs, I've been listening to Gorillaz. I wasn't really a fan. I really wasn't involved or given a opportunity to kind of get to, hear their music, even though in the fact that it came out in 2001, I never really heard anything. It's a little before my time, but it kind of reminded me of the good old, like, video game era, that GameCube, PlayStation era, like when video games were like not so much about money, like that the music, has been really interesting. Like Tomorrow Comes Today is one of the songs I like off their album. That's what I've been listening to. Also, I've been listening to the artist, what her and what's that girl name? Why am I blanking? It's blanking to me because it was just a yeah. I'm looking for it. Yeah, her and Leela Ike. He loves us both. It's just I ain't gonna lie. It's probably beyond anything that can change just that tunage of me just keep hearing that song. Like I've been humming that song every day, like every day. And then of course, just playing that a whole bunch of times. Easy doesn't. Gotta go back with Easy E. The sample just, he was once I can go easy, or we can sit there saying they not like us, or we can go, you like that, not like us, but like that, excuse me. But those were the classics, like that sample kind of created those two tracks for me. Sabrina Carpenter. Please, please is kind of hard. I just like the way she say motherfucker, though. I'm not even gonna cap. It's the way she say motherfucker. It's just like real country as fuck. And I'm like, I'm fucking with it. I don't know. I'm with it. I'm with it. Like, it's country. Gotta slide back J. Cole project. Might delete later. Pie just the way Daylight Absol was on that, just going hard. The bar he had about the people was called J. Cole. That bar, that T bar was nasty. Can't lie, was violent. Gave me Dave Chappelle show. Shabuza's drink don't mix. Don't need no mix with Big S the plug. That's heat. I think that's one I gotta hear outside. And just, no worries, of course, going to, where do I go from here with good old Anderson .Paak. It really great projects. I think those are the projects that's really been played a lot for me. And I think to add about 3 more different tracks that I kind of been like jamming next to those to kind of get in a different mood. The Sauce Father 2, definitely a killer. Money Counter with Travis Scott, that's a vibe. Sauce Walkers really had me out here jumping. And gotta throw in my boy RXXK nephew, Shorty X K4. Gone a Lot, that shit tough. Gone a Lot, tough. I don't care what nobody say. Like that boy got that, he got a little blasphemy out there. Got laid up like Jesus, but he had the bars on point. He had them bars on point. And finally, I ain't gonna lie. One Up T, Butt Naked. If you know me, I had to go hard on that track. That track is hard to me. I don't care what nobody say. Hard. I don't care. Like, that's tough to me. Like, that track just crazy, like funny. But those are all the songs that I'm kind of vibing with right now. So that is all the vibe that I got just based on just music. And I'm going to get deeper into different music and different things. And that's something I would love. I'm going to continue to ask different people. So be sure to just be, ready to see different stuff. And, again, welcome to the Barrel City Podcast presented by Bibbidi Boot Productions. We do this, bro. We really do. So I know this music shit and we're going to make it pop off. We got different things going. My big topic I'm going to go about is her too. Her too. You know how Shorty and made it big out here. So I'm going to talk about that and get my opinion on that. So we're going to be leading up to that topic. Yeah. All right. Like I said, I don't know why we over here talking about this girl over here talking about fellatio. We're just going to keep it a buck. Even though, that's a major part, major key, DJ Khaled. I just don't get the reasoning why we are continuing to be so impressed about this woman's sex life more than the fact of what our need of really approval is. I don't get it. I think personally this is a situation that is not to be glorified. I think this situation is just something that is to draw attention from the current circumstances in America, the current circumstances with food, current circumstances with the economy, worrying about foolishness that isn't really benefiting us. But to be cute and, valid on the situations what we're talking about, I want to talk about the thing of, even though this is something that's being highlighted, let's talk about the big picture. Why are we having this downplay of understanding that women are not objects for objective behavior, but also why are women okay with the fact that women are objectifying themselves, which is then also counterproductive to the whole movement of being not objectified? And, carry along with me. How can we sit here, as a community, male and female, but more importantly, the women, to be around and to see other women now, demoralizing themselves, minimizing themselves, shrinking their whole appearance to then benefit the idolatry of sexual nature, for real. Just freaked out. Just freaked out for no reason. Like, this is something that is internet. I think at the end of the day, it's internet. Of course, parents handle what they handle. We're all adults. At the end of the day, we're in the age of we having kids. But we having kids and people still don't get it. You are okay putting somebody else's daughter in this situation of just the identity of this whole, sexual, freaky, get to the business kind of mood. But you sit here and not even think about the fact that, like, we as men gonna have daughters. Some of us gonna have daughters, some of us gonna get all boys. Not saying you're lucky, not saying you're not lucky. But looking at it from a situation that, it's a particular fellow that I deal with, I work with, and he was talking about the fact, they was in a situation and the dude was talking nasty, about girl clothes and under girl clothes, and he was like, he'd have a whole problem with that. Remind me, the fact of, his eyes stay open, he ain't blind, but in reality, and what I mean by blind, he still look at women, and this particular guy was, talking a little filthy. He was like, I'd have a whole problem with that. My daughter was around, I'd be da-da-da. But I'm like, you move a certain kind of way. It's like, where's this line that people have driven into the sand? But in reality, like, you don't stand on that. Like, you don't live that life. Like earlier, like I said, the blind leading the blind. Again, you got grown men who follow other grown men and they say some crazy shit and you never set the standard. But it's other grown men that will sit here and, ultimately disrespect women just straight out. And we all sit here and we understand that this situation is way bigger than us. But it's more importantly got me thinking, like, how can you sit here and address some other man about his behavior on how he feel about women and what he says about women, when in fact, you're not even in no means of being protected for your own family, in the sense of just when you're not being seen, your integrity. So it's like, it's interesting that we're looking at this whole picture, for me personally, looking at how big it's become. Like, people got magnets, fucking air fresheners, people wearing t-shirts, people out here memeing it. Like, you work in an environment, people sit there, if something ain't working, they like, just spit on it, Hawk Tew. Like, they literally sit there like this is a whole gag. But in reality, it's a bigger picture for me, looking at it in the fact, if I have children, of course, even have a daughter, the reality of the pervertedness of what we are in this culture, and how we, even in that young lady, being of consent, quote unquote, in the United States, you still understand the fact that the thing in which he said was not to be glorified. It was nothing about that being glorified. Of course, the music has completely perverted everybody. The culture is not too much of the culture anymore. The shit grew wheels, got legs, got money, got more demonic ties than we can really tie to. But in reality, when we look at it and just address that whole reasoning of, even though women, your own body, what you're gonna do to what you think, cool. But in reality, that it creates a bigger issue, because where's the line? You can set the line, but where you as a community setting a line? Same thing as men. When are you setting the line to the fact of you're gonna have a daughter, you're gonna have these, you're gonna have a wife, you're gonna have girlfriend, you're gonna have whatever you want to call her, women in your life. And when do you set the standard in which you're like, oh, that's not enough, I don't like that, without you be seeming like a hypocrite in the fact that if it wasn't yours, you wouldn't give a fuck. Like, it's weird, like very weird behavior, because how can you sit here and glorify, it's hot shit. And like a lot of these women, like I seen like some old footage from like Miami and like this spring break that just came back, like the behavior of like how women were behaving and how they seen themselves, the value, like the value in yourself is depleted to a point of just, it's absurd to even understand how much these people are really addressing in what they're really learning. Because shit, it's a barren land out here for a good woman who's actually sees the value in herself and isn't deplenishing herself to a point that now you're thinking that things are supposed to now still work out. Is a certain level of a standard, just like a man that doesn't have a job and hasn't worked. It's the same thing as a woman that hasn't established herself as a individual person. I think same thing as men, but it's more important because a woman's value of who she is so much of the value of what the family and the household sees. It's so much of what his son develops a sense of his understanding of what woman he wants to entertain, and for the daughter to become the kind of girl, to become the kind of young lady, to become the kind of woman that can then be able to be, led and can also lead those after her. So it's so many different things that which we are looking at Hawk Tew Gurl, but then we could look at, Megan Thee Stallion, to Cardi B, to, early on Little Kim, to all these different women, in hip hop, Britney Spears and pop music. We can talk about, Christina Aguilera. We could talk about the whole exploitation of women, even going into now. We just, after the Nickelodeon scandal, with how that was handled and those kids, how they were sexualized and things that happened to them, like they tied together because unfortunately, the greed and the money and the things she did for fame and things she said, effectively has become so much of a hee hee ha ha. But where's this line being drawn? Because it's like, as a man in this society, where is it where you actually see a woman want to be considered to be taken serious for the fact of which she's just not saying some shit for the fact of fame and something that makes her look crazy, and the fact that somebody's, gonna effectively find love in this person? There's nothing wrong with that, but it's hard to find love for somebody that doesn't love themselves. So I'm just trapped in this whole, vortex of just like thinking about this, and just it caught my mind when I was just thinking about it over this time. I'm just hearing throughout these weeks, and I'm like, when is it enough? When is it enough that we're condemning the behavior of this sexual immorality into a point where it may be cute for, a time being, but how much more can we deal with? How much more can we get more perverse until you really can't come back? Like it's to a point where it's like, how much more you're willing to see, and you think you're gonna be able to change your family from seeing, into a point where it becomes, even when I watch commercials, anything I watch, it's just so much perversion. And then to look at the fact of the value in which is just, this has became so much of a big thing just off of something that is based off fellatio, is completely mind-boggling and just completely just misses the point of which we all look for. So this is the Barrel City Podcast. Like I said, It's presented by BBD Boo Productions. We do this, we make this motion, we edit, we doing it. We got videos coming up soon. Be careful with me. Please be gentle with how long it's taking me to put different forms of media up. It's taking a little bit of time, but through patience and continuously y'all viewing, please like, please subscribe, please do everything you can to show a brother love. If you love the content, you want to come on the show, you want to give me advertisements, you want to come do your thing. Bookings is still through the Barrow City podcast. You don't have to do it through the personal page of Hassani the Great. You don't have to do it through any of those things. Please definitely go through there, or you can go through the Beauty Boot Productions with the Z at the end. Beauty Boot Productions with the Z at the end. To then, if you want to follow through a request, if you're following through that way, if you hear through my media any other way. So, thank you. Please comment, subscribe, like. Beauty Boot Productions, Barrow City Podcast. It's a combination. We making love. I see y'all later. It's all peace. It's all grace. Give off to the Most High. We in here, big dogs, and I'm doing that Kevin Gates little emote with the little you know that little and then hey, glad. All right, people, I love y'all. Deuce.